I'm going to go ahead and discuss some of my personal experiences that kind of explain why, besides obviously if you looked at my natal chart and you're kind of, if you're thorough enough to at least be able to pick out like strengths and career potentials for people, then you will see clearly and evidently enough that psychology or occultism, it's like an equal of occultism and psychology are of utmost importance in my chart. And I'm going to kind of explain how that manifested throughout my life, the actual environmental triggers that influenced those kinds of things, and what I learned from those experiences that are things that most people would not like to openly discuss are now the driving force of why I saw and I see what's coming on a sociological level beyond the astrological aspects in transit, which obviously, projecting what I know, you project your perspective when you're looking at transits and aspects. That's why every astrologer has their own approach, their own niche. They should, if they don't get wrapped up into listening to other people telling them how to do their fucking astrology stuff. They should know themselves well enough, and you will automatically project the things that take interest to you, or the things that are prioritized within you. Regardless if you vocalize those for people to know about, or if you keep them to yourself, projection still happens. So, instead of trying to bottle that up and or molding yourself to what other people tell you to do, understand who you are, and utilize those, and use those as your mission or your intent with your astrology practice. Then you'll be successful. And also then people will stop doing this cutthroat bullshit, which it won't stop. I have a whole other theory on that. We could talk about that another time. But I used to feel like that also. When I used to feel, before I really honed in on my astrological skills, before I really knew, like I knew myself fairly well because I have a Scorpio Mercury conjunct my Pluto, and that's my key planet, essentially. And in fact, even before that moment, when I started getting into astrology, I used to hate Scorpios. I hated them. I didn't want to have anything to do with them. If I found out that, and that obviously that's me projecting my internal, if I ever found out that somebody was a Scorpio, and this was obviously when I only knew about sun sign astrology when I was a teenager, if you were a Scorpio, I don't care how nice you were to me, I would tell you to fuck off and get away from me. And when I first started, I got my astro.com account, and I started making my charts, and I was doing my friends' charts, which shows my priorities there, not me, but my friends. I made my chart out, and then my friend was actually sitting there asking me what mine means. And I saw, not only did I have Pluto in Scorpio, but that I had Mercury in Scorpio. And when I looked up what Mercury means, I was freaking the fuck out. I would not accept it and you know what's really funny? I continued to study astrology after that fact, but I never looked at my own chart again until after this event happened. Not only did I look into psychopathy, and I was pissed off, mortified, that somebody would actually diagnose me with that. I started really hardcore getting into psychology just to understand why a doctor would say that I have that, and to essentially disprove that I have it. That was my mission, was to disprove that I'm like that. I started getting really obsessive with disorders, and I'm really good with mental disorders, like the clinical diagnosis, the behavior symptoms, and that sort of thing. The predispositions for it, if it's genetic or if it's environmental, how one can, trigger another. And so I know extensive amounts of different ways that the brain is mutated, manipulated, abnormal, and how that manifests as behavior. So now I can utilize those potential issues and disorders for the greater good with my Jupiter opposition. I dated some really nasty people. my first serious boyfriend was, he's in prison for life for murder. It could have almost been me. Luckily, it wasn't. I won't go any further than that. I was dating him at the time when this happened too. And, he was abusive. And because of my Scorpio Mercury and me being able to pay attention to things, a few years later, after that, I started dating another guy who, his mannerisms and some things about him reminded me so much of that first guy. And I was kind of hypervigilant. And then I started to see the progression of, of the downward spiral towards abusive tendencies. And I decided to pull away. And when I did, he fucking went completely apeshit and started pretty much acting like the other one. When I came to find out that they were both Virgos, I shit myself. And that was actually the driving motivational factor as to why I decided to take astrology on for real instead of being Alyssa Sharp or whoever else who just likes to read astrology to impress their friends and thinks it's cute to talk about themselves, or people be able to be recognized by people liking you because you can tell them things that they don't know about themselves, which is essentially what a lot of astrologers do. So motivational reasons and motivational factors are very, very important with why you do things. Because the me that was doing it before, when I was like a teenager, 18 maybe, and why I started doing it like into my mid-20s, is totally different. And the results speak for themselves. Okay? So, when I realized that, and I think it's actually very funny that I did a psychopathy video about serial killers and stuff. About how, and I know for a fact, through the research and other things that I've looked at and looking at serial killers' charts, that mutable signs are notorious for murder. That guy was a Virgo. The other guy that was starting to show some concerning things where I shouldn't feel safe, with my back turned, was a Virgo. So I started to actually use that to then pick out the most fucked up problems in people. I was reading people's charts not for the benefit of them, but to find problems within them, to make sure that I steer clear away from those people, for my own survival. But I've been seeing those things in the transits, and I have been kind of reserved about it, per se. I've told some of my close friends and stuff. But it's now becoming evident. And the fact that it's becoming a theme, sociologically, or, mundane-wise, is now proving my speculations with those aspects true. And that's why I also have my own methodology. Because I'm basically doing the scientific method with this. I look at something, I project what I know, I make a hypothesis, I wait it out, I wait to see if it manifests or transpires in the, I give or take, I take it with a grain of salt. I give myself, a little bit of a leeway with when it'll transpire and the extent of how it will transpire. If it's going to be intense or it's mild. And then I'm proving my theories right. The moral of the story of this, I guess, that you could take away from this is make sure you understand that what you're doing, like, and I'm talking about vaguely, like, with what you want to do with your life or work or whatever, or your contribution to the world, make sure that you love what you do, and make sure that you understand why you're doing what you do, even if you don't love what you do. Because if you don't understand why you're doing it, and you don't have a clear, motive in mind as to why you're doing this, you're going to be shitty at what you do. And before I had a reason, a motive to study astrology and psychology, I would have been just like any other bimbo that takes Psychology 101 or any person that uses Astro.com and listens to Alyssa Sharp's videos. I don't care what anybody says, I'm going to talk shit about Alyssa Sharp forever. And that's my childish Sagittarius shit in me, but she's stupid. Because I reached out and actually tried to help her and teach her stuff. She talked down to me and then made a video about mean comments and stuff that's about me. And I'm just really pissed. Pissed. I'm pissed at myself because I wasted so much of my life, you know, not applying myself to something and actually achieving something with applying myself to it. So there's a difference between applying yourself to something because somebody's encouraging you to do so because you feel like you should be doing something with your life, or actually applying yourself to something because you have your eyes set on achieving something as a result of the applying yourself. Yeah. So I'm not discouraging anybody from being an astrologer, if these are the people that watch this, because that'll probably be most of them, or from what you do. But I really think that you should search within yourself and do what you should be doing. And seeing as if the audience of this video more or less is astrologers, or people who are fans of astrology, I don't need to educate you on how to look and see what you should be doing with your life. It's in your chart. Go look at it.
Hello, is there someone there who cares for God-forsaken souls and God-forsaken man? Is there someone there